You are listening to Women's Running Stories, where exceptional women runners share inspirational stories about their running experiences.
That's a dream that I think most runners can say that they have had, is to run professionally. So a lot of me couldn't even believe that it was happening after everything I'd gone through, that I was able to get back to that place and let alone be able to sign with Nike, which was at the top of my list. So yeah, I was super excited, but just at the core, I was just scared and didn't really know what it would look like. And so I think that's why I was scared. Didn't know how I would do with the pressure, and also was a little scared of like what my life would look like in terms of like what would I be doing with my day to day if I'm just running. And that's has been a lot of what has played into my depression as well. It's just kind of having too much time on my hands, but I'm figuring that part out now. Hi, I'm Emily Venters. I am a professional runner, mostly long distance, 5K, 10K on the track, and hopefully eventually going to the longer distances on the roads. I run for Nike, and I am based in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Yes, this episode features professional runner for Nike, Emily Venters, who is figuring out how to live life as a pro in a way that best suits her. The challenges she's faced transitioning from collegiate to professional running after a bumpy collegiate running career, and how her experiences played into her performance racing at the recent USATF 5K National Championship is what this episode is all about. But before you hear more from Emily, I want to welcome you to Women's Running Stories. I am Cherie Louise Turner. I am the host and producer of this podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate you coming here and listening to these stories. And this is a really good one. I really enjoyed learning more about Emily's career and especially how she navigated some recent mental health challenges, which she's been very open about sharing. So she's going to get into that in this episode. And this episode is one of the WRS race reports. I do a race report for each one of the USATF road circuit races, and these are races that happen all over the country, all throughout the year. And each race serves as a national championship for the distance or type of event that is being run. In addition to going after a national title, runners are racing for cash prizes and for points. And the points go to the series overall, which is determined at the end of the season. And that is now. The 5K is the final event of this series, which started way back in January with the cross-country national championships. For each one of these races, I get the story from one top 10 finisher about how the race played out from her perspective. And, of course, because a race is never about just what happens on race day, you also get some context around that race performance. And yeah, for Emily Venters, a key part of the context around her race involved her mental health. A little background on Emily Venters: she did enter the pro ranks last year after that bumpy collegiate career. She had started that collegiate career racing at Boise State, and then she transferred to CU Boulder, also called the University of Colorado.
So at University of Colorado, I ended up having a ton of injuries, and I was really, really close to medically retiring, and I decided to not, and I just decided that I was going to continue to go on and go to grad school at Utah and just try and finish out my career on like I guess didn't even need to be like a high note in terms of like PRing or anything, but just like I wanted to end it feeling like it ended on my terms and that I could end still loving running and not leaving college with a hate for running, which unfortunately I feel like some people do, and it's really sad. So I think for me, I feel like that was the biggest obstacle that I overcame, was just trusting my gut that like I could go on and I could be successful again, even though I had all those setbacks. And people were telling me like that I should probably stop running and move on with my life. So that was something that in the past year, I've always kept that in mind. Like, I overcame that. I can overcome anything else. And I just need to trust my gut. And my gut is always right.
So Emily did trust her gut, and she transferred once again, this time to the University of Utah. And one of the things that Emily's gut was telling her was to believe in the words of Utah coach Kyle Kepler.
I mean, I feel like the one thing he told me before I came there and that convinced me to go was just he told me that he wanted me for the person that I was and not the athlete. He didn't care if I came and I ran 15:20 or, if I was on the top 7 in cross country. He just wanted me at Utah for the person that I was and to be, a positive influence on the team and for me to just finish out my career, like I said, on a happy note. And that spoke so much to me. I had never, ever heard a coach say, I want you for who you are as a person. It's usually just about the numbers and stuff like that. And so I think that I just found so much peace in that. And just knowing that no matter what happened, it didn't matter or his expectations for me weren't through the sky or whatnot. And so I could just really go and just be me and get back into it as slowly as I needed.
During Emily's 2 years at Utah, her running transformed. Among her achievements, she ran the 6th fastest 10K time ever by a collegiate athlete. She placed 2nd at the NCAA National Championships in the 10K, and then she placed 3rd in the 5K. And with that success, Emily earned herself a Nike professional contract upon graduation last year in 2023. But while from one perspective it looked like Emily was living the dream, there was that other side, anxieties and depression, which wasn't completely new to Emily. And that is where Emily's story leading into this 5K race report is going to begin, with how Emily navigated these emotional and psychological challenges to get to the incredible performance she had in New York City on November 2nd. And she did, indeed, have a magical day. A couple of things to know before we get started. Emily mentions DBT therapy. This is short for dialectical behavioral therapy. Emily also mentions some of the women she was racing with at the 5K, including Emma, this is Emma Grace Hurley, and Annie, that's Annie Rodenfels. And a couple of things to know about these two racers. Emma Grace had earned enough points in the overall race circuit series to have already secured the series overall before the 5K even started. So a huge congratulations to Emma Grace. And Annie Rodenfels was the returning champion to the 5K, and she was a favorite to win. Emily also mentions Natasha Rogers. She is among the most competitive pros in the country as well. And there were other top pros there too. This was a stacked field as usual. The 5K Champs is always a hotly contested race. One final detail, as a refresher, 5 kilometers is just a touch over 3 miles. All right, so let's get to it. Let's hear Emily Venter's story around the 2024 USATF 5K National Championships, beginning with Emily addressing her mental and emotional needs. Here to tell her story is Emily Venters.
There were moments in college where I even had these little bouts of depression, but nothing like this, my first year as pro. But so about a year ago at this time, I would say it kind of started for me. I just kind of pushed it down and just tried to be it's normal, I'm fine, I'll get through it mentality. And I think on top of it, I know that on top of it, getting COVID for the first time that fall, which took me out of a bunch of races, made me really discouraged as well. And then I got an injury. And then after that, I was coming back and I got mono. And I think just a lot of things played into it. But underlying, I had this feeling of just depression, I guess, in my transition from college to pro. And I think, it even started when I was thinking about signing a pro deal, signing with an agent and going pro. I was just really, really anxious about it. And the idea of turning like something that was my passion into my job. And I just didn't really know if I would like that life. I was scared. And so I think that in a lot of ways I had just, like the whole first year, I just let a lot of my fear take over. And I wish I could go back and have taken like a mental health break last fall and not just try to continue to push through it, because I was not okay. But then because I didn't take a break, then it just kept eating at me and until I really did get to the point where I was like, I just can't go on if I don't tell anybody. And I didn't want to race. I didn't even want to run really at all. And yeah, it got bad. But fortunately, I had like a lot of really great people in my support system who, were like, focus on your mental health. That's way more important than anything else. And the rest can come later. So just knowing that I had the ability to take a step back and allow myself the time I needed and the space I needed from running to see whether it was something I still wanted to do or whether it was something that I was ready to give up. And so, yeah, I think I just felt like a huge weight off my shoulders, or I say like the cloud above my head just kind of started to slowly lift, because I just was given the time and the space to just relax and not feel like pressure on me, I guess, to perform or to train really hard. I just got a little bit of a break, and it was very much needed. And that was, like I said, I'm just really, really grateful for everyone for giving me that space that I needed. So I opened up about how I was going through depression in the past year, and I had always seen a therapist, but I needed something a little bit more. And so DBT therapy is something that I was encouraged to start. And through DBT therapy, they give you the skills kind of to the skills to utilize whenever you're having those moments of anxiety or nerves or whatever it may be, but just a toolbox full of skills to use when you have that moment that you're freaking out or having an anxiety attack or anything. So that's what I've been utilizing. And it's been, a big game changer for me, and just the way that I think about my thoughts and myself and how I go about interacting with others too. So it's very useful for a lot of things in my life, but and so that's been what I've been really trying to work on.
Emily has been focused on her mental health, and she made a very significant change in her running life not long before this national championship.
So I made the decision to switch coaches after my 10K in Boston, which was on October 12th or something. And so I decided to go back to being coached by my college coach from Utah, Kyle Kepler. And in the weeks between that race and the 5K, my training workouts were probably the best that I've ever had in my life. And I'm not really sure why, but I guess I just got so much confidence in those 2 weeks. And I have a really close relationship with my college coach, and I just feel like he trusts me a lot, and I trust him a lot, and he believes in me so much. And I think, just having even 4 or 5 workouts with him before that race, my confidence was just immediately boosted.
With her confidence high and her training going well, Emily was ready to race in New York City as race day dawned.
I woke up pretty early. 5 a.m. was my alarm, which that's 3 a.m. Salt Lake time. So going to the East Coast and racing early is kind of difficult sometimes. But I woke up at 5, put on my running clothes to go outside for a 5-6 minute just shake out to wake myself up. And honestly, best time of day to go out in New York City because no one is out. And then I got a coffee, and then went back to the hotel, and my mom actually came with me on the trip, which was nice. So she woke up with me, kind of her, and I just got ready, and I was in a really good mood. I played the Wordle, got the Wordle on the second try, and I knew it was going to be a good day after that. It's just luck, honestly, when I get on the second try, but that's kind of sometimes how I determine my day. I'm well, not really, but jokingly, like if I get the Wordle on like the second try or the third try, like, oh, it's going to be a really good day. So we all like met in the hotel lobby around 6:30, and then they bussed us over to the start, which was about a 15-minute bus ride, I think. And we got there, I guess, around 7, and they have a nice tent for us. It was kind of warm with some heaters, and it was so busy at the start line, like where they bussed us to, because I guess there were 14,000 people also running the 5K, which started just a little bit after us. So yeah, there were a lot of people there, and it was just good vibes all weekend, honestly. Like, I've never experienced like being anywhere for a world major marathon, and the city was just alive, and there were so many runners, and I feel like the energy was just so amazing. And for me, the running community is something that I like really enjoy about running, and just like the people that are in it. And so seeing so many familiar faces around and just other people who love the sport, it was an amazing atmosphere and really good energy. Then we went to warm up around 7:30, so it was not very long that we were there before we started warming up. And I warmed up with Savannah Shaw. Annie came for a little bit, then she had to go get an interview, and Bailey Hertenstein, and then Emma. So yeah, I like to warm up with other people. I don't really like to warm up alone because I just can get in my own head. And it's also something that I've found to be really fun about road racing, especially, is just like people just warm up together and people are just friendly. And I really like that, getting to know my competitors. So it just makes it seem less intense. But I would say I was feeling like a little bit more nervous than I had been for my past 2 fall races, just because I guess it was a USA championship race, and there was a good amount of prize money on the line, and that's always nice to win. And I did really think that I could place in the top 3, if not win. And so I just wanted to do well. So I was nervous, but I was also just like excited because everyone had told me that this was like one of their favorite races that they've ever done, and just to enjoy running through the streets of New York and enjoy the weekend. And so I think just encompassing all of that and encompassing my nerves, and just knowing that I have done everything that I can already, and there's nothing else I could have done more to that point. Or like maybe I could have, but in that moment, I can't go back. And so I just have to be confident in what I have done, in my abilities. And then just mentally, something that has been huge for me is practicing mindfulness, and just being grateful for where I'm at and the moment, and, not making everything so serious. So something that I like to do when I get nervous sounds silly, but like taking deep breaths, stopping for a moment, and just like looking at everything around me, like observing, like, what can I see? What can I hear? What can I smell? What can I taste? It's kind of silly, but it's just something that like brings me to the present moment and just like takes me away from focusing on just my nerves. So that's something that I've done or started to incorporate more recently, and it's been really, really huge for me. I think that's the biggest thing that has gotten in my way in the past. Just like letting the nerves and anxiety just eat me up, and to the point where I've stopped mid-race, and I've just let those negative things really just take over and cause me to completely just shut down. So yeah, your mind plays a lot of tricks on you.
Emily was fully aware of the tricks that her mind could play on her, so she put the tools that she'd learned in therapy to use to settle her nerves and focus on the moment at hand. And she came to the start line with confidence.
They send us off on our way, and I just immediately was focused, and just I told myself that I was going to just stay with whoever was leading, stay right behind them, and not take the lead until at least 2 miles in. And that's kind of what I did. I just tried to just stay right there, right behind Annie and Emma and Natasha for a while. And I also never looked up at the clock on the car that was leading. I told myself that it didn't matter what time we were running. I was running to race, and I was just going to leave the time out of my mind, because I feel like sometimes when you see the clock and you can see like a split or like, a marker of where you're at, and maybe you're not quite where you wanted to be, or it's like I don't know, we running too fast for the first mile or too slow. Psychologically, it can throw you off, at least, especially for me. And so I just decided that I wasn't even going to look up. I was just going to look straight ahead of me and beneath me, or yeah, like at the people in front of me. And that's kind of what I did. Just was super focused and really just went and did not think. That's when my best performances, or some of my like confidence boosting performances, have happened, is when I'm able to allow myself to just go and not think for a second. Like, I never once had a doubt in my mind creep in, like, that whole race. And yeah, that's the best feeling. And I've only really experienced that like a few other times at the end of my collegiate career. And it's really, really powerful when it happens. Funny though, something that I do remember I did look up and into the crowd one time. And the one time I did, I saw the Bachelor, Matt James, and he was cheering. And I was just like, oh my God, that was Matt James. So funny. I mean, he was running the marathon the next day. My mom's a huge fan of him. But yeah, that was the one time I actually looked up into the crowd, and yeah, I saw him. And I was about like, we were probably like a mile and a half in. And then after that, yeah, I just felt really within myself and really good. So I didn't run the course. I have never run this race, never ran the course before, but I did prepare myself for the last mile, knowing I just told myself it was going to be all uphill. And so then when I got a little downhill, I was like, woohoo. But yeah, that's what I was prepared for. Kind of just knew that it was relatively flat-ish for the first 2 miles, slight up, slight down, but nothing too serious. And so when we made the turn to go into Central Park, I knew the uphill was going to begin. And I feel like the hill is kind of a strength for me. So I tried to lean into that and just take the lead then. And that's what I did until Annie started getting up to me, and she kind of caught me on that really sharp turn. And yeah, that darn turn, but it's okay. It was great. And I honestly knew that Annie was going to be the one to beat that day. So just tried to hang with her as long as I could and really just not let myself give up. Because I think in the past, it's easy to let yourself kind of give up when someone does pass you at the end of a race or like near the end of a race, but really just trying to stay strong and not let her get like too much more distance on me is what I try to do. And I think because I had prepared myself that Annie was probably the one to beat in that race, I knew she was right on me the whole time too, and right there. So it didn't really shock me, I guess. So I wasn't freaked out at all. I was very calm when she did pass and just trusting like myself to like, I'm gonna give it my best. Like if I don't catch her, then that is okay, but I'm gonna give my best. Yeah, I was really, really happy with the race. I think like for me, the biggest thing was like, I just genuinely felt like me. I felt just like the runner who's like unafraid and is brave and not scared to put yourself out there, not scared to fail, and just going with for the love of running, I guess, too. So I feel like every part of that was just encompassed on Saturday. And yeah, just go like I talked about running without thinking. And I really have not had that feeling 100% since my final season in college. And it's just such a good feeling. And so that's why I think I'm just feeling really happy about it. Not even thinking about the time or the place of the race. It's just like how I felt during it in my mental space during it. I'm just really proud, I guess, of how far I've come with that, because like 5 months ago, I was in a really, really bad place. So, yeah.
Emily Venters had a terrific race. She placed second in a really strong field, and also, yes, critically important, she felt good, mentally, physically, and emotionally. She's built a solid foundation after a time of uncertainty and difficulty, and she continues to develop how to make this pro running life work for her.
now I think I've kind of just been able to rethink about things again, like just kind of like there's a lot more to life than just running, and I need to lean into those things. So something that has given me a lot of comfort lately and peace is just I've made the decision that I'm going to go back to school and continue like pursuing nursing, which is something that I've always wanted to do. And it's definitely going to be a challenge, but I'm excited because it gives me something else to focus on and something that has been a lifelong goal of mine, in addition to just running at a high level. And I know I can do both, but it's something that makes me feel at peace because I know that when I am ready to be done with running, hopefully in a long time, but when I am ready to be done, that I will have another career that I am just excited about to go into. And right now I don't really have that feeling about like with my current degree that I have. So yeah, I feel like going to school and getting the nursing degree will just make me feel accomplished and comfort in that when I am ready to be done, I am stoked about my next future.
So many congratulations to Emily Venters on a great performance at a top race, her first podium finish at a national championship event as a pro, on working through a really difficult time and coming out the other side healthier and stronger than before, and forging a path that works for her as a top professional runner. A big thank you to Emily for coming on the podcast and sharing her story. Thank you, Emily, and my very best to you on everything that is to come. That does bring me to the end of Emily Venters' race report for the USATF 5K National Championships. I know you, like me, will want to keep up with Emily Venters, so please look to the show notes for how you can do that. Now, some results. The top 10 results for the 5K are as follows. Annie Rodenfels won once again. Congratulations to Annie. Emily came in second. Emma Grace Hurley was third. Congratulations on yet another podium finish, Emma Grace, and on your series overall win. Bailey Herdenstein was fourth. In fifth was Susanna Sullivan, followed by Abby Nichols, Paige Wood, Taylor Rowe, Natasha Rogers, and rounding out the top 10 was Molly Bourne. With this being the last race in the whole series, I will share the top 10 for the series overall. Like I have mentioned a few times here, Emma Grace Hurley did win the series overall. Fantastic. I will also note here that Emma Grace also won her first race as a professional the very next weekend at the Indianapolis Half Marathon. This was her first time running that distance, and she set a course record. Coming in second in the series was Rachel Smith, followed by Annie Frisbee, Emily Durgan, Jessica McLean, Annie Rodenfels, Kira D'Amato, Natasha Rogers, Dakota Lindworm, and rounding out the top 10 for the series overall was Amanda Vestry. I will be back next year covering the 2025 USATF National Road Circuit Championships, and those kick off with the Cross Country National Championships on January 11th. You can expect a race report shortly thereafter. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a race report. That does bring me to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. And also, thank you for sharing the podcast. I always appreciate when you share these stories with somebody else you know will like them too. All right, signing off for now. This is Cherie Louise Turner. I am the host and producer of Women's Running Stories. And until next Tuesday, I do wish you strong, healthy, determined strides forward. Women's Running. Women's Running Stories.
My name is Cindy Burnett, and each week I interview at least 2 traditionally published authors on my podcast, Thoughts from a Page. We talk spoiler-free about their books, so you can listen whether you have read the book or not. And then we delve into things that you most likely won't hear about anywhere else. the importance of the cover design, why they included various aspects of the story, personal details about both the books and the authors' lives, and so much more. You can find the podcast on every major platform and learn more about it on my website, thoughtsfromapage.com. Thanks so much for checking it out.